Hey guys, my name is Michael James, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Bad Dating Podcast. So, I created this podcast because I'm single, and dating is bad these days. And I know in the past I've been bad dates, I've had bad dates, and so I wanted to talk about it. All these days, everyone is spending their time on the internet talking about bad dating and good dating too. And I thought, let me share my thoughts, feelings, and opinions. So I'm bad dating on X slash Twitter, bad dating podcast on X slash Twitter, bad dating on YouTube, bad dating podcast on YouTube, bad dating podcast on Instagram. So please follow me. So, for this first episode, I wanted to just talk about dating apps. And later, I think I'll put out a review of my profiles and stuff. But I wanted to just talk about dating apps. So, for the people who are new to dating or been around the block for a little bit, there's a lot of misconceptions. I want to kind of jump in and then share my thoughts. So, first off, if you are taken and you're one of those people who think you're missing out, I promise you, you don't want it, whatever's in the streets. I can tell you, I've had that conversation with many guys who idolize being single, and women too, idolize being single, and then you realize that it's not that great. So here's the deal. Let me try to break this down for you. Uh, about 25 million people in the US are on dating apps. So that's the best way to meet people, find people. I mean, if you get your food delivered to you, if you get your groceries delivered to you, if you get everything delivered to you, apps are the way to go. That said, one of the problems is a lot of people are taking their time and treating people just like they do products on websites, on apps. And so I call this checklist. I mean, this is just checklist dating. I mean, I call it that, but I'm sure other people do too. So the problem with checklist dating is you're not actually remembering that people are more than just a checklist. You can find someone who checks all the boxes and then not actually like them or not feel any connection. And then you can meet someone who is uh, all wrong and then feel such chemistry that gets you into a long lasting relationship where you're happy and they may not have necessarily been the person you would have chosen. So it's the dance between what you actually think you want and the things that you actually gravitate towards. So as a single guy, I know that a lot of women hit me with checklist dating. They immediately start off with questions. They want to know yada yada yada. Go through. Hey, what do you do? Where do you go? Where do you work? Uh, and that's fine. The problem becomes when you're not taking the time to actually get to know someone as a person. So for me, when I'm doing online dating, I like to treat it like a quick get to know you and then try to meet someone because you lose a lot when you just work through apps. You don't get the tone of someone's voice and the inflection. So is someone serious or are they joking? The difference between being sarcastic and then making a serious point, maybe you see the smile on their face. Maybe their deadpan is so perfect, and then you switch topics. I know that I sometimes switch topics, and then I've forgotten to clear things up, and then you have that like, oh well, you thought this. I was like, oh, that was 100% a joke, but that's my bad, and that's what bad dating entails. There's a lot of miscommunication when you're just staying through apps. So the thing is, for me, I prefer to use apps as a way to find someone who I know is interested in me and who I'm interested in. I get a general sense of their personality and that they're like around, then plan a meeting because 5 minutes at a Starbucks tells you way more than a month of texting on an app. And so you get this with a lot of people who are getting back into dating. Maybe they've gotten a divorce, maybe they've been in a long-term relationship, or maybe they just had a whole lot of everything else in their life prevent them from dating. So I know people who've done school, got their bachelor's, then got their master's, then got PhD, finally got set up, established a career, and then they said, and now I will find someone. And so their skills, it's like being a time traveler who is out of time, just jumping ahead 5 years or 10 years is when you didn't date and then you get back into dating is you just skipped ahead in time. And so if you were single in the mid 2000s, oh man, and then you've been in a relationship for so long and then now it's 2024 and you're back in the market, the game has changed. And that's why apps are more important. I remember when I was in college, people were so against, like, it was embarrassing to be on a dating app. I know, because I was on a dating app, and it's one of those things that you didn't necessarily talk about, it's necessarily a thing you didn't do. And then at a certain point, like 1 in 3 were using, 1 3 in their 20s or 30s were using dating apps. So it's really prevalent, and you start running into exes, coworkers, people you're friends with, enemies, neighbors, people at the gym, unfortunately. You start running into all these people online. So it's not a weird thing. Unfortunately, some people turn dating apps into a weird thing where because this is new to them, they treat it like this is still the mid 90s when it comes to the internet, where it's just like, oh, I don't know. It's like some people, if you are on a dating app, they will treat it like it's such a weird thing when if you meet them at the store, they'll give you more of a chance because it's in person because they can trust it. So that's like, yes, you've had once in a while, like random things, but so many people are doing online dating. As long as you're being safe, meeting in public, and just general common sense stuff, you infinitely improve your ability to date using dating apps and being pretty safe. So dating apps, there's a lot of them depending on what your preference is. There's a dating app for everyone, or there's dating websites still for really everyone. I mean, I knew a guy who was on Farmer's Date and scrolling and matching. So kind of depends on what you like, what your type is, and what you are as a person. So I'm on Bumble and Hinge. Oh my God. These are better than what a lot of the alternatives are. So some people, if you're not into spending money, that kind of funnels you into a crowd of apps where people are less likely to spend money. Going into the app, logging on, you just decided to get into dating, realize, hey, you're putting yourself out there, so why are you going to half-ass it? I like to say half-assing only gets half-ass results, and I'm never going to be the person who complains about too much ass. So put your full self out there. You should be able to, there's more to someone than just a checklist of stuff, but when you're trying to look at someone's profile or have someone look at your profile, you should be able to see some general things on there. You should be able to see, hey, is there a picture there? Are there several pictures that actually show their full face? No more hiding behind sunglasses. Full face, full body too. People forget that. Like, ladies, we get it. Maybe you have big tits, or you're not comfortable with your body, but if all of your photos are just your head, it gives a clue that you might be insecure about your body. Or if your photos stop at your cleavage, which is out in every photo, it's like, oh cool, that can be sex and get attention, but that can also kind of show that you're maybe self-conscious about your body. I mean, cool, it looks good from that angle, from that thing, from that perspective, but take the time to get like real photos in real life of your full self. It should not, no one should be surprised with what they're meeting in person. Like, wouldn't you feel mad if you met someone and they didn't look like their photo? I mean, I've done online dating. I've been catfished where it was just like, it was like fat fished, where 50-pound difference because they're using old photos and they turn the brightness up and the contrast low, and so that hides certain features and details. So you're hiding a 5 head and 50 pounds. Like, I was still polite, I still was on the date, I still like interacted, it was nice, cordial, but I was like, in the back of my head I was like, oh well, this is already done, because I felt lied to, like omitting, hiding things, like. And that's what I need to talk about too, is why are you turning the brightness up? Okay, cool, you're doing these very great Instagram photos that minimize maybe imperfections or flaws. Guys do this too, so guys, don't just tune out, because this applies to everybody. But at least show like one minimum basic photo of yourself so people can say like, this is what this person looks like in the daytime. Ladies, sometimes you guys do 10 pounds of makeup, which, okay, cool, you look good. But watch the videos where someone who is a solid 3 on a good day becomes a 10 thanks to 10 pounds of makeup. So guys are more cautious, more concerned with, okay, am I being catfish if I see nothing but all your photos are you well done? I mean, it can be nice, but if you're always going to be like that, cool. But you should want a guy who, the Drake line is, chilling with no makeup on, that's when you're the prettiest. Like, well, it's probably something like that. But that's true. Like, if I can just hang out with you, think you're, like, maybe you're not as cute as when you're done up, but like regular schmegular is what they want. Guys, if you are doing that to your photos, like, stop it. Just, you're catfishing women. Women, if you're doing that to your photos, you're potentially catfishing guys. Too much makeup, just one normal photo or one less makeup photo is perfect. On the photos, why? I had to show someone that, like, a lot of girls are taking bad habits from dudes, where it's just like, you're not, like, they're not smiling in their photos. And so, like, that kind of stands out, where you see someone who's like just mean mugging the camera, where it just looks like a photo from the 1920s, where it's like they didn't know to, like, they didn't smile back then in those days. It's just like, if you're taking a photo because you're making a choice to, like, okay, if that's not your personality, cool, I get that. Don't smile. But like, some people, if you're a happy, jokey person, why do your photos not say that? Dudes, sunglasses off. Cool, yeah, you look cool. Something like, maybe. But just understand that if people are just going through real quick, if they get a sense of, like, if they like what they see, that's what they want. So, cool, unless you're always going to have your sunglasses on, or whatever, or always going to have a hat. Guys, take your hat off. Like, cool, you can be a hat on in like 9 out of 10 photos and stuff like that, but sometimes people want to see the full you. You should put that best foot forward. Ladies, gentlemen, cool, that's great if you have photos of your friends. It shows that you're sociable and that you have other people in your world, and that's really good, because some people don't. But it should be easy to tell who is you, which person in the photo is you. I've seen a couple of profiles where women will have all their photos be with the same girlfriend or with a group of people. So it's just like, who is this person? So like, trust me, I get it. Some people hate selfies, and it took me a long time. So I used to be a big boy. I used to be like pushing 300 pounds, and now I'm not. But you should be comfortable with yourself. And sometimes people hate selfies because it can tie into that self-reflection and not being comfortable with yourself. At my biggest, I did not take photos. I like dodged, dipped, ducked, got out of those photos as quickly as possible. And so that's one of the things is I realized is like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. So if that's who you are right now, I get it. Put yourself in the position of like, well, you're trying to attract someone, so take the time to attract someone. Give them the opportunity to see who you are, and then like, all right, cool, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but guess what? You're on a dating app already, so you're going to half-ass things at the last moment. Come on. So the photos, make sure people can tell you, show your personality. Like, what is the problem with, okay, cool, you like to bowl, you like to rock climb, you like the gym, show that personality off. That said, let me back up a second and go to like, guys, if you're outside and it's sunny, your shirt can be off. If you're at the beach, your shirt can be off. If you're like, if it makes sense, I've had some females show me male profiles just so I can like see what the competition's like, and you can see like guys with no expression on their face, shirtless, trying to pose in the mirror, and just like, cool, like that's not the look. That doesn't. What does that attract? If you are like a perfect body, maybe, but like perfect's an illusion. So like, hey, I'm in a tank top now, and I may be in a tank top in profile photos, or if I'm outside, if I'm doing stuff that makes sense, cool. Like my neighbors see me in a cowboy hat, shirtless, walking. That's what I normally am out in the world looking like. If that's not you, just realize it kind of read weird. And ladies, that doesn't mean that you're exempt from this. If all of your photos are your butt is towards the camera, I can see your butt and I can see your face, like that's it. It's like, okay. Sometimes ladies will pose because you can help hide things, contour things, minimize the waist, minimize the stomach, avoid showing problem regions and stuff, and that's fine. But I also understand if that's all your photos, if you're the person concerned of what you're looking for, or what someone's looking for, just know that's not helping. Is like, cool, if I'm looking at, if all of your photos, I see your butt and your tits are out, covered, but high, a lot of cleavage, first, that could just be you, and that's good that you're being honest, but then also, if that just attracts the wrong attention, like, dudes, do you know that women's inboxes are like 10 to 1 to 20 to 1 in responses to from ours? Like, it is nuts. And you're going to attract some of the guys who have no social understanding of like couth and just being cool with it, where yeah, you may get a bunch of guys who are just commenting on your butt. And first off, you know what, that's actually good. Guys, don't change anything, because if you eliminate yourself from contention by being such a dummy so early, that's perfect. It lets everyone else step ahead of you who's just be like, hey, yeah, I can see her butt, she clearly knows it's nice, I don't have to comment on that. Like, cool, if it's in person, you guys are hitting it off, things get to a certain point where you can, if you're comfortable making jokes and she's actually laughing, that's completely different than you're telling a stranger that on the rip. The internet gives a lot of people internet balls. Like, that's just the best way to say it, is people feel tough, or I feel like everyone's a 6'1" black guy who can say whatever the hell they want, thinking that they are the biggest and baddest around just because it's the internet, and then they turn into cowards, wimps, simps, and all kinds of stuff when they actually are in real life, guys or girls. So if that's who you are, cool, but just understand a lot of people can't keep that same energy up in person. So from profiles, location. So a lot of apps will give you the option to do passport mode or to be from somewhere else and show yourself in that location. that's fine, but these days a lot of people are just over that. If you're in a vacation town, a lot of people are not interested in humoring your, like, oh, well, I'm not here yet, or I'm just visiting. Like, that's just facts. And just understand, like, there's going to be some people who are, but as someone who has traveled while being single, if you look on apps and stuff, you can see like, oh, okay, cool. A lot of people will ask that, hey, are you visiting or are you staying? This is in Las Vegas. This is in Miami. This is in Japan. This is in Hawaii. This is it. People are onto that. Just be aware or not, and then you're going to just be wasting people's time. Or just get a lot of silence. Also, depending on where you're at is the attention you may get. So, I put the BD in bad dating. That's just fact. If you're watching the video, you can see why. And what that means is, and there's some areas near me where like, hey, I get a lot more responses. And then other areas that like, man, this is just hurt. This is just painful. When I was living in the Inland Empire in California, my matches and ability to actually meet a quality person, because I'm actually like looking for a relationship, which surprises people, was very low. And then when I've been in major cities, it spikes up. So some areas, if it's, you know, if you're light skin, 5'9", and just like somewhat thin or whatever, that may be way more popular. Just is what it is, but just understand that like, cool, you might want to either choose the app that allows you to filter that, or just understand that like, hey, I get less attention here than I did when I was living in the South. And that just happens. So that's why these apps are taking advantage of that and kind of limit some of the stuff, which for at least for guys, if you pay to get a profile boosted or shown in front and stuff like that, that can make you more in contention, especially if you are not as popular, your appearances are not as popular. When I was bigger and on dating apps, a lot less attention in general. And for me, I have a very good memory. I'm good with seeing things and remembering. So when I see photos and stuff, I can see photos and then like, oh man, I've seen that person 5 years ago when I was, so before I had moved, before I had done a lot of things, before I got into a relationship and then got out of a relationship, hey, this person was on there. And they're still showing the same old photos. Listen to me. If you have a dating profile, please do not use old photos that are over a year old. Like, that is just ridiculous. That's the person who catfished me, where she's 50 pounds, 50 pounds bigger than her photo, got a 5 head, but she's using old photos. And like, before I used to just be kind of cool with that, and now I just kind of like laugh and call that out, because why are you using old photos? Yeah, you look better then. If you have, and I bring this up because as someone who is bigger, if you are self-conscious about your body, there are things you can do healthy, that from going to the gym, working out, improving your nutrition, understanding what good nutrition is, because it's not it's not a fad diet, it's not anything else. It's usually someone's eating more and counting. There's a whole lot you can do and like make some dramatic changes. Walking, doing all these things are positives. But if you're showing photos, guys have gotten in trouble for this too, which is like showing photos where just like they had a lot more hair and they were thin, and then it comes in person and the girl's just like, yeah, you have lost some inches from your hairline and you have not been working out the same way as your photos. Why do that? It doesn't, like, yes, you want to present the best face possible, and maybe the best face of yours was 5 years ago, but like, you want the person who is going to meet you to not feel like they were lied to just off rip, because I've been there. not even as bad as that, but you just been there and just like, okay, cool, and I'll be polite and stuff, and you like, I've been told like, oh, that was like a good date, and they'd like to see me again, and I'm not interested because you just kind of sitting there like, I was just lied to, and I can still be polite, but like, it's already over. So going from that, profiles, the details of what's going into your profile. Oh my God, some people put no effort in. That used to be me a long, long time ago, putting nothing in your profile. Uh, Put some personality in. Why would you not? If someone's going to take the time to read it, especially for me, I can say as someone who, when swiping, uh, since I get like less attention, maybe I'll just sometimes just swipe a little bit more without reading and then read after the fact. I'm a say profile. That means I like someone with intelligence, but then I'll also acknowledge their attraction. So like, cool, I swipe, and then oh, we match. I'll read your profile. I'm just like, oh, like, oh, she's into ethically non-monogamous, polyamory, or some other stuff, which is fine, but that's just not what I'm into. You guys, if you're into ethically non-monogamous situations, that's fine, but just putting ENM, ethically non-monogamous, just as that little acronym in the bottom of your profile, yes, a lot of people will skip over that. So if that's your lifestyle, like, that's props to you. You get a lot less nonsense because you're upfront of what you're looking for. Just spell it out for people or tell someone so that way they know from the rip. Just because that way it causes less frustration and less issues and stuff. Yeah, I heard there's some guy that was alleged to be hiding a child where the photo showed him and he said it was his niece and it turns out to be his daughter. Or women won't put that they have kids. Like, again, you would want, if you're trying to shop online, you would want to know, hey, the product I'm buying has a dent. It's not a problem, but like things should not be a surprise. So, yeah, just put some effort in. Uh, it it pains me to have to say that, but just going through your profiles, like, it is just sad. And yeah, just try to improve. One of the things I'm going to do with this podcast is actually take the time to start sharing my profiles because, like, I'm not above criticism. And then, like, we can review mine. I'm going to look at profiles where I'm not going to show their pictures and stuff, but just kind of talk about what I'm seeing because it's important to know that, hey, not everyone, like, some people are like stellar profiles and are stellar people and they show that they're live, they show that all the things that they're doing, but just talking about these things because that's how you get better is by being willing to first put myself out there. I'm not above reproach. I have things I can probably work on or that I didn't think of, but if we can get through this, we can go from bad dating to good dating, or at least have some fun in the meantime. Anyways, I want to thank you for sticking with me for this first podcast. I'm going to try to put these out weekly and then be very engaged on Instagram, again, at Bad Dating Podcast, and Twitter, Bad Dating Podcast. So follow me there. Look forward to seeing you. And I'm going to I'm also on TikTok as well with Bad Dating Podcast. So I'm just going to try to put out shorts and other things that, talk about and try to have fun with this because that's what we're here for. Thank you guys.